So Record of Ragnarok chapter 97 and Apocalypse of the Gods chapter number 7, we have the early spoilers, and this is crazy on both fronts. I did have a video up yesterday talking about the spoilers, but there was a lot of shit that the leakers had gotten wrong initially that changed things, and it was just an inaccurate video at the end of the day, so I just wanted to get that out of there because I don't want to push the inaccuracies. But we have a lot of the news now. Starting off with what everybody wants to know about, we have confirmation that next month, next chapter, we're getting round 11, and the two fighters are Loki and Simo. Unprecedented move for them to reveal who it is in the next chapter preview. We don't get anything about that in this chapter, but that is the preview for next month. People are going to be hyped. Loki versus Simo. I'm hyped. I can't wait to see Loki fight. Can't wait to see how Simo's going to fight as a sniper against Loki. Should be very interesting, but I want to get that out of the way. So let's start with the Apocalypse of the Gods. So of course, a lot of people are highly anticipating Wukong's debut. The fight does start this month with Prometheus, and Prometheus, last chapter we saw, before the announcer could even ring the bell, he had already wrapped his chain around Wukong's leg. And what he does is he basically throws him up into the sky. It's revealed that Prometheus has massive muscles pulsating out of his back. He throws him up into the sky, launches him up, and then pulls the chain back, and then launches into Wukong's head with this massive headbutt. It looks like there's lightning all around. All these different things transpire, and it does a lot of damage to Wukong. At least that's what it looks like. It damages both men. Of course, a headbutt in and of itself is kind of a kamikaze style technique. Damages both them. Prometheus is bleeding. Wukong's eyes go white, and somehow, some way, Prometheus has wrapped his chain all the way around Wukong. He ends up picking up Wukong, slamming him into the dirt, and then we kick into Prometheus's backstory. We get seemingly a full-fledged backstory for Prometheus, which goes into the details of some kind of fight club for the gods, apparently it looks like in the Greek mythos, run by Kratos. Yes, Kratos, and he looks like an off-brand version of the older Kratos we get in the Norse games. But it's really cool to see. Author definitely heard people wanting to see Kratos in this series, so it's funny that we get him running a fight club tied to Prometheus's backstory. But yes, so in this, essentially what happens is this lady, who I'm not sure what her name is yet, but it's a female goddess, champion of this fight club. She's beating the shit out of Prometheus, but then Heracles walks in. Seems like he doesn't fight, seems like he gives Prometheus some kind of pep talk. Prometheus gets up, he uses this lightning style ability, uses his chain, and is able to defeat the goddess with his headbutt. So it's kind of building up the headbutt that he just hit Wukong with, and giving him some much needed lore. The details of that are unclear as of now, but I'm sure it's gonna cook when we get there. The chapter does end though, however, with Prometheus feeling as if he had won, but Wukong, of course, you know the Monkey King couldn't have gone down that easily. He's getting back to his feet. I actually personally like looking at the panels. I loved what I saw so far. Wukong getting his ass whooped early. A lot of people thought Wukong was gonna come in here and just stomp him out. So it's interesting that Prometheus gets the upper hand now, but Prometheus did look worried that Wukong was getting back up. So maybe Wukong just finishes in next chapter. We'll see. I expect these fights to be shorter than the Ragnarok fights, as I've said previously. But who knows, man? This might be a tougher fight than most people had previously imagined. But surely Wukong will get his time to shine next chapter. As far as Record of Ragnarok, we get some insane things going down. As we talked about all last month with the volume preview and the chapter preview, we were going to get a ton of Odin lore. Now, here's the thing. So this picture right here is what the leakers initially thought was young Odin. That is not correct. This is actually just some nameless god that was studying the Primordials or doing research. He was kind of historical. He came across this artifact, this sword, that basically allowed Odin to take over his body. And apparently, according to this leaker, the original Primordials, the four Primordials, the four supreme pillars of the Yggdrasil, the world tree, were Ymir, Satan, Chaos, and Odin. And if Satan and Chaos are both primordials, does that mean that Beelzebub has access to both Chaos and Satan, or is Chaos just the name of his attack and he only has access to Satan? Is that how Beelzebub's going to be a massive high tier going in the verse? I did call the fact that Satan was probably going to be tied to the Primordials way back in my older videos, giving Beelzebub the power needed to fight against these beings. So there were 88 primordial gods. These four were simply the most powerful, according to this guy. There were two factions. There were 77 on one side, and then there were the initial four: Satan, Odin, Ymir, and Chaos, they were the 4 strongest. They were going against all the other gods, and they had like 7 subordinates that were helping them apparently. So it was basically 11 versus 77. Now, Odin's side was just ravaging the god side, the 77 on the other side. They were dominating them, slaughtering them. There's amazing shots of Odin fighting. Odin was fighting with this sword, not with gun gear. What ended up happening is somehow, some way, like the last remaining surviving gods had kind of like baited Odin's group into coming to this spot, into the wastelands at the end of the world, and then they used this technique, divine sealing cloth, Gleipnir, apparently, and we actually get a really cool nugget. Like last chapter we talked about Izanagi, when he healed Okita, there was a scar on his hand, and sometimes in Record of Ragnarok this shit is shown and we don't get any elaboration on it. But I was saying, are we ever gonna find out what this scar is from? I think that it's probably shown for a reason, and this is how Izanagi actually got his scar in his hand. It's unclear like how exactly this works as of now, but effectively it looks like some of the other gods sacrificed their lives in the sealing. It's like this giant big black hole. So they sealed these people in like these 4 artifacts. So Odin is sealed in his sword, Satan is sealed in his like necklace type thing, Beelzebub or Satan is sealed in his mask, and then Chaos is sealed in what looks to be like his rings. So what happened with that nameless god earlier is that he had come across the sword somehow, and when he picked up the sword, Odin immediately like took over his body. So the Odin we see in actual Record of Ragnarok is not actually Odin. It's almost like Sukuna taking over Yuji. It's not like his actual body, but it's like Odin's reincarnation. Odin is kind of body possessing him. The leakers were insinuating there could be some correlation to Beelzebub having this possession kind of transpiring, but Satan can't fully possess him. It's only like with certain conditions. We don't know if Beelzebub's come across the artifact or not. So of course there's a ton of information we're gonna get in the chapter. Of course I'm gonna be covering it, but I wanted to make sure all this stuff was at least accurate. And as people were talking, like Izanagi looked like he was just a beast. He's the head honcho of that pantheon over there, Susanoo's dad. He survived the fighting. He was a primordial confirmed. So we were talking about that way back because there was an initial translation that called him a primordial, and everybody was like, what the fuck, how is he primordial? Primordials, you know, are what everybody's afraid to bring back. Do they even exist? He is a primordial. He was alive during this war, and that's why Odin was looking at him when he healed Okita. So this is actually pretty good writing as far as like tying everything together. You also potentially get some vindication for Kintoki, as a lot of people thought that Nostradamus breaking into Tartarus last chapter was like kind of a sign that he was much stronger than Kintoki, as Kintoki could not pierce Tartarus's wall, its fortress. He could not get past the guards, or didn't attempt to, because he didn't think that it was a viable option, and Nostradamus just walked in right past them. But this chapter, it actually seems as if he had prior permission, so a lot of people thought that he had kind of reality warped or mind controlled the guards, but it seems like no, he actually had an agreement in place where I guess Odin had agreed to let Nostradamus be Siegfried's doctor, which is opening up another whole can of worms. Why the hell would he let a human be the doctor for Siegfried, especially given that he's part of Hilda's plan and on the human roster? Unless this kind of bodes into that theory, is like, have Hilda and Odin actually been secretly in league since the start? I talk about this in my evil Odin theory, potentially. Obviously the Valkyries serve Odin. Or is Nostradamus just this much of a mastermind where he was able to deceive Odin or bargain with Odin for some nefarious reasons? Is Nostradamus secretly a traitor? What is happening here? We have no idea. People have been speculating that Rasputin could be a traitor for humanity. What if Nostradamus, the guy that broke the Bifrost, actually ends up being a traitor for humanity and joining with the gods? Who knows? I have no clue. But these leaks are crazy top to bottom. I will say the Nostradamus traitor thing is a little bit dicey, because Siegfried seems like he's against Odin's plan. Siegfried is saying he wants to stop the resurrection of the primordials. So Nostradamus is aligned with him. He obviously brought Goal as a request from Siegfried, and Siegfried seems against Odin. Maybe this is Odin 4D chess, having Nostradamus be a human helping Siegfried. Maybe Nostradamus is just trying to get the information. It could go anywhere. But of course, we will be here with the full breakdown, as always, for both the Apocalypse of the Gods chapter and the Record of Ragnarok chapter. You're not going to want to miss it at all this month for both. Make sure you hit that notification bell, subscribe, and drop a like on this video to always stay on this side of the algorithm. I will see you guys soon.